Nobody wants to be injured. Yeah. And there's two types of injury, right? There's one that you trip and fall, twist your ankle, sudden impact injury. Or there's another injury where you're doing the same thing over and over again and you just feel like, oh my goodness, this hurts so badly. Okay, two different kinds of injury. So first one, we want to use something called RICE, and it's an acronym that stands for rest, ice, compression, and elevation. So if I twist my ankle, I am not going to walk on it anymore. I'm going to take a break, and I'm going to take a break for as long as I need to, but I'm going to take a break on purpose so that I allow my body to heal. I'm going to put ice on it. Why? Because the blood will start to form in one area and it'll swell, and so the ice will tell it calm down and keep that blood flow moving. So ice, then compression. When we wrap it, we don't allow that blood to pile up, and we want that body to kind of pull out all of that blood so that the circulation helps to heal the injury. Then we are going to also put our foot up, so the elevation keeps the gravity pulling the blood away from the injury. And the blood is really helpful to us, but we want it to circulate on a regular basis. So this is the injury. We really need to take time and work on your rest, ice, compression, and elevation. On the other hand, if, say, I'm using my mouse hand a lot and I really injure my forearm, a lot of people, they talk about carpal tunnel or maybe their tennis elbow and different things. Well, it depends on this movement, but if we're doing something on a regular basis, again, like scar tissue can kind of build up there. So how are we going to release that scar tissue? Well, there's many ways that people take care of this, but one thing you can do is you can put heat on that. Sometimes you can alternate between heat and ice. Cold, hot, cold, hot. And again, what we're trying to do is just say, hey, body, circulate a little bit more. Another way is to do massage. So you can always self-massage, find your little knots and try to work them out. You can use a massage gun. You could actually go and get a massage by a professional. That's a great excuse always. Or you can do some kind of treatment. So when we are feeling not right, we want to take care of that as soon as we can. We also want to move as much as we can. Even our own movement can be healing. So if we are stuck in one place, move a little bit more. Try to balance out some of the movements that you're not able to do. That's why stretching becomes helpful. Maybe even traction. So that's a really fantastic treatment that I found that relieves a lot of stress to the injury. But no matter what you are feeling in terms of your injury, you don't leave it, okay? You rest it on purpose, but that doesn't mean you leave it. It means you take care of it. So what things need to be done? Well, definitely talk to your professionals. Talk to other people that have experienced different things. Try different things. Use salt bath. Use, maybe A535. Use stuff to help yourself feel better. Why? Because the movement is healing. And the movement will allow your body to help itself. And we want to have a longer term goal for our fitness, so we have to figure it out. Again, rest still is important, but it can't be permanent, right? We can't just say my injury is permanent if it's not. Let's take the time, let's address the injury, whether we need RICE, whether we need some other treatment. Let's keep ourselves moving. And you know that it's normal. When athletes, you see them on the side of their sport using the massage gun, it's on purpose, right? And it's helping them. It's helping them stay in the game. So why won't you take that same approach? Keep yourself in the game. Get yourself treated. Get your body stronger so that it can handle more stress in a different way. let's keep ourselves injury free. Or address the injury as soon as we can.